Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everybody. This is Fast Break here for High Sports Radio, your forward sports. I'm Davidson Crooks. Locke's in Dallas doing some work things, so you may hop on later on. And you probably won't get away from the phone in Pittsburgh, but it seems like it's not the same in Texas as well. But we'll discuss that if he hops on the live here. Well, tonight's show, we got a full slate tonight. The NBA Cup semifinals are heating up, and the right time. We got the early season storylines, and they are getting louder by the day. So we'll discuss those games, discuss the results, recap, and also get a preview of the NBA Cup finals as well. So lots to discuss tonight, including scores from the floor of college basketball. Lots to get into tonight. But this is Fast Break here for High Sports Radio. You're the reach for always sports. I'll catch you on the other side of the sport message.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And welcome to the show tonight, ladies. Thank you to tuning in to us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Got a loaded show for y'all tonight. Lots to talk about, lots to get into tonight. As I said before in the monologue, D-Lock's in Dallas. I just wait for him to text me back to let me know to zoom in. So we're going to dive deep into this tonight's show here on IE Sports Radio. But if you are new to the show, like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell. Once we go live every Sunday, be tuned in, locked in, and get that alert ready. If you're new to X, Twitch, subscribe to IE Sports Radio. Give us a follow there. Once we go live, you get that notification on all shows in the network as well, including this one right here. So, NBA Cup semifinals recap. Let's start in Vegas, where the Knicks and the Magic tipped off the first semifinal. And listen, Jalen Brunson didn't just show up. He took over. 40 points, efficient, poised, and completely in control of the game's tempo. New York made a push in the second quarter and never looked back. And this is the team that's starting to understand who they are when the lights get bright. Also, on the other side of things, Orlando show flashes, but the defensive lapses were costly. They'll learn from this one, but last night belonged to Brunson and the Knicks. And just kind of going over this game, you had and I didn't tweet too much from this because I was in Tuscaloosa for graduation yesterday, so I didn't tweet too much of it. I was driving back home from Tuscaloosa. But anyways, going into this game, the Knicks and the Magic, and if y'all watch our season preview series, I had the Knicks and the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. I had those two teams pegged for the Eastern Conference Finals. For me, for the Knicks, I was like, okay, you really didn't make no changes with this roster. Only real change you did was Tom Thibodeau for Mike Brown. Mike Brown for Tom Thibodeau. The roster stayed the same. You really didn't make no big moves. You kind of kicked the tires around for a couple trades here and there. Looking back at it now, maybe you could have swung the fence for Giannis, but you kind of stay. You held onto your guns in a sense. Like you held onto your guns in the sense that you didn't make any moves. You added Jordan Clarkson. You kept some. You get bench guys together. Just got to get healthy and all that good stuff. And hopefully, with Mike Brown in tow, would kind of change some minor things offensively to kind of keep this team moving along. And for the most part, for the Knicks so far this year, they kind of kept things rolling along, but you kind of see the bench depth kind of take over. Yes, guys has mid games with injuries, stuff like that. That's part of the game. But you kind of see that depth, taking place. And I think the Knicks really kind of benefit from it. they win by 12 points. Brunson, like I said, alluded to, had 40 points. Carl Anthony Towns, 29 points for him, 8 rebounds. OG Anunoby, 24 points for him, 3 steals. Mikal Bridges, 42 minutes. So the Iron Man played big minutes once again, but 16 points and 3 assists for him. Josh Hart, 12 points, but 6 rebounds, 6 assists for him, and 3 steals as well. And they didn't go deep in the bench. McBride and Shamet were out, so I'm pretty sure those guys will got extended time. But the starters kind of played like Tom Thibodeau type of style. They played 35 plus minutes except for Hart. And, for them to kind of win this game, to go to the finals of the NBA Cup, and I think it's a great statement win for me, for a person that had this team pegged going to the finals. And I think this is a great confidence booster for this team. And we'll talk about the Spurs in a little bit, but a confidence booster for this team is like, can we kind of use something to separate ourselves from the rest of the guys in the East? And I think this victory can hopefully do that, but that's ifs and buts. It also all depends on Mike Brown. Can he motivate these guys and say, hey, man, if we beat the Spurs and they got Wimby coming back, that'd be a huge confidence booster for us. Yeah, I know we're top of the East, one of the teams top of the East, but beating this team that beat the previously hot streak Oklahoma City Thunder, that's great for us. That's great for us. If I was Mike Brown, if I was Mike Brown, and kind of use his leverage, trying to build some steam and trying to catch up and get and overtake the Detroit Pistons with 20-5 right now. So you kind of like in second place, and the Knicks are kind of by themselves, 18-7 in second place. Boston right behind them. Boston kind of coming back strong, 15-10. Philly 14-10. The Orlando Magic 15-11. But if you're the Knicks, great win. You played heavy minutes. You may have to do that again for the Cup Finals on Tuesday. But you got a little rest in between there, and before you had that matchup in Vegas. Costco. What you talking about, Marcus? I can know. Talking about this thing? This is a Magic Johnson thing. Oh, you're talking about, okay. Now my Boulevard. No, man, sometimes, I got a little girl, sometimes she come in messy and stuff like that. But this is for looks and stuff like that. The Boulevard. I love Boulevards out Kansas City, so I got to keep it there and all that stuff. And sometimes I just like the looks and stuff like on it and all that stuff and all that. So all that, yeah, trying to keep everything out. So that's the room looking as best as it could right now. So, but anyways, where was I? So back to this game here. The Magic, I know they got Powell back, and it's great that he's back. And go over that stat line. 25 points for him, 26 for Jalen Suggs. Desmond Bane, 18 points for him. Wendell Carter, 14 points, only 6 rebounds. Anthony Black in the starting lineup, 8 rebounds, 12 points for him. But it's just like, after that, you only got production for Jet Howard. That's 8 points for him, but nobody else in the bench really showed up. And I think if Orlando, who had a great run as NBA Cup run, if they can, find some continuity. And what I mean by that, like, Pelican Pancaro comes back for injury. Then Franz Wagner goes out. And me and D-Law kind of talked this, off the show and stuff like that. Like, damn, Powell comes back, then Franz Wagner goes out. And it's like, damn, can we find some continuity with these two guys? Because if you find some continuity with these two guys, I think it'll go a long way for this squad. But, Desmond Bain been playing pretty well in the absence of when one of these other guys are out the lineup. And you got to somehow, keep him playing strong this, when these two guys are back on the court together. But I think the biggest, Achilles heel of this team, and I think it's a problem they've been trying to fix for a while, the point guard position. Yeah, Suggs played fine, but you can't let Jalen Brunson get 40 points off of you, especially in that second half. You can't allow that. You can't allow that at all. And the bench is not really giving you too much. I like guys like De Silva and whatnot, but they barely contribute anything for you. I've been saying on the show for years, Jonathan Isaac don't really give you crap, but they keep giving him money for some odd reason. So I think for Orlando, you got to look around and maybe kick the tires and try and shake things up and maybe get some change in there. I mean, it's one of the teams they could stay the form, and like I hope make it to the Eastern Conference Finals like I had. But I also see him getting clipped in the first and second round if guys are not healthy, or like I said, continuity and whatnot. But for the Magic, like I said, they'll learn from this. But it's just like, it's not what I envisioned what this team could be. And I know if D-Log was here, I think, this team could be a lot better than what they present themselves. They got the scoring. If you look at the roster, they got the guys. They're not a small team. It's just gotta just find some balance, find some continuity and whatnot. If they can find those things, the Magic could be deadly. They really can. Move over to the second game of Saturday's matchups. The Spurs, 111, 109. San Antonio Suns, OKC with a long comeback. This was only the Thunder second loss of the season. When reports were saying that Victor Wembanyama was coming back in this game, and you didn't know how he's going to come back and feel, and you didn't know, how much effect he's going to have in this game, and what his, in other words, pitch count will be against the OKC Thunder. And coming to this matchup, the Thunder were rolling. Prior to this. And you got to give the Spurs credit. They came in, they won this game. San Antonio's late game exposure, composure. OKC second loss of the season. Fluke, a warning sign for the Thunder. Wemmy's impact on pacing and spacing. Now, for the Thunder, real quick, even elite teams have hiccups. Let's be real about that. It happens, I think this is a good loss for the Thunder to have. It's going to be real. I mean, it'd been great to win the money and stuff like that for some of the bench guys and stuff like that. But I think sometimes you don't want to lose, but losses like this, you can gauge and kind of work on things and stuff like that. Because look like this, like, San Antonio storms back late and hands OKC the second loss of the season. Like I said, the Spurs show real composure down the stretch, and you can feel the confidence building with this, with the young Spurs group. So, two different, two different teams, but told two different stories, in a sense. And looking at OK stat line, 29 points for Shea, 5 assists, 5 turnovers, which is not good. Chet Holmgren, 17.7 rebounds for him. Jalen Williams, 17 and 7 rebounds for him, 4 assists. Isaiah Hartenstein, 10 points, 9 rebounds for him as well. And then, Caruso, 11 points for him, 8 rebounds. How you let a guard get 8 rebounds on you, it's always mind-boggling to me. But Casey Wallace, 7 points for him. And then for the San Antonio side of things, like I said, Victor's on account of the pitch cap, but those 20 minutes he gave, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, really kind of affected the game. But you got to shout out Stephen Castle and then Devin Vassell. 22 points, 23 points respectively. The 6 turnovers by Stephen Castle can be worked on. But those guys, along with De'Aaron Fox, played well, played composed. Dylan Harper off the bench, 8 points for him. Julian Champagne, 8 rebounds off the bench for him. Guys like Jeremy Sohan, Kevin Olynyk did not play in that game. But, when your best guys are doing well and stuff like that and mounting comeback, you got to roll those guys. And, for the Spurs, they shocked the league. San Antonio, closed that game like a veteran squad. And Mitch Johnson did a great job in that game. And you got to give him credit as well. And not just the players. I know Victor came back, but sometimes you got to give coaching, and coaches his dap. Wendy bending the floor, the young guy step him up, and suddenly the Thunder, they look human. It's like, don't overreact about it, but don't ignore it either, is what I'm saying. Do the Spurs match up very well with the Thunder? Yes. Yes, they do. Victor matches up well with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein at the same time. And then guys like De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Vassell, Castle can match up well with guys like Jalen Williams, Caruso, and Shea. So these teams match up very well. It's just like OKC's just been on a different run. So, shout out to the Spurs. They came in and won the damn thing. They did well. They get to the championship, and now, in Tuesday's final. What's the stuff around? In Tuesday's final, we got the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. Let me type this out real quick. And now we got these two teams in the finals. And you kind of look at this matchup. You got the Knicks, playing pretty well for the start of the season. And then you got the Spurs, who started off real good in the early part of the season, came out game busters in a sense. But, injuries kind of took it back at things. Dylan Harper went out, then Victor went out, and other guys didn't have the lineup and stuff like that. Now those guys are kind of slowly coming back. Now we're kind of, seeing this team back to where they were in the early season. And I think those injuries didn't happen early in the season. Could we talk about this team, having less than 7 losses? Fair question. Fair question to y'all. If y'all catch the playback on this. If guys that like Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper didn't go out with injuries up to this point in the season, are the Spurs a 7-loss team? Could that had a streak? Could that had a streak like the OKC Thunder at this point in the season, or like Detroit earlier they did? Tough questions. And this matchup here, if OKC doesn't make the finals somehow, some way, could we look at the Knicks and Spurs, a rematch of '99? That lockout season. Could we see rematch them back in the finals? Knicks Spurs in the NBA Cup Finals. If Victor's on the pitch count again, I have to get a slight edge to the Knicks. Slight edge to the Knicks because I think if Towns could come out and be dominant in that game, and kind of if you get the Knicks, a nice lead, him and Brunson, against the Spurs, I think they'll go a long way for them for winning. I also think if the Knicks, come out and play strong and whatnot, could Mitchell Robinson, if you got Victor, if the Spurs got Victor on the pitch count again, can Mitchell Robinson give you good solid 20 minutes against Victor to make his life a living hell? That's another fair question there. So you Mike Brown, if I'm Mike Brown and I'm in his head, I was like, okay, if Victor's going to be a pitch count again, how can I negate that and limit his impact? And that's one of the things I would do. I would have Mitchell Robinson. Okay, I set Mitchell to the side. Say, hey, wherever the goes in, you in. I'll push Cat to the 4. You at the 5, and you're just on Cat. I mean, not on Cat, but on Victor. We can throw Cat down low at certain points, have him, in mismatches against Mitchell Robinson. Against Harrison Barnes, if Luke Cornett, if Jeremy Sohan plays the game, then we get him in matchups as well. But I need you to focus on Victor. Don't let him get off. Don't let him have an impact in the game, special offensive rebounding, all that. Try to contain him best you can. And don't try and get in foul trouble either. That's another thing Mike Brown got stressed to Mitchell Robinson. Don't try and get in foul trouble with Victor. I know he can take out the dribble and all that stuff, shoot over you, but kind of play disciplined ball. So I think you can do those things. If Brunson can get, guys like De'Aaron Fox and Harper in foul trouble, that can go a long way. And then guys like OG and Miles Bridges, you're locking up the other dudes for the most part. You do that, I think, go a long way for the Knicks. And those, Josh Hart too. And yeah, those guys probably have to play heavy minutes in this type of matchup, but I think they can more like doing it in this game. But for the other side of the things, for the Spurs, What can they do to win this game? Get those guys in the Knicks in foul trouble. If the Knicks gonna play heavy legs again, then you got to get those 5 guys in foul trouble. Get Brunson in early foul trouble. You got a nice 4-guard rotation. Use it to your advantage. If Shamet and McBride not playing, you got to take advantage of that. Make them Knicks go deep in their bench. I think if you can do those type of things, that'll go a long way. Now, if Victor's not starting again, you got to contain Cat and, make his life a living hell till Victor gets in. But Luke Cornett got to show up strong in the first half, in the first quarter. Harrison Barnes got to show up strong as well. So I think if, the Spurs can do those things and Victor can come in, change the games at different pace, different points of the game defensively, like I alluded to about the Knicks, if you slowing down Mitchell Robinson, if Victor's guarding Mitchell Robinson, then, Knicks are basically 4-on-5. So in that type of sense, Victor's helping, if Jalen Brunson trying to drive the paint. If Karl Anthony Towns, trying to check a 3-pointer or trying to post up down low, you could probably move Victor around different guys, double team and trap better. Allows, if you got Mitchell Robinson there in the game at the same time with him, then, what's he really going to do? And plus, he can't shoot for free throws for shit. So that's another added plus, for the Spurs. So if Spurs win that game, Victor, help out on switches, help out on the double teams, and especially if Mitchell Robinson's on the floor. If you could do that while Mitchell Robinson's on the floor, that'd be great for them defensively. Offensively, try to get, guys like Mitchell Robinson out the game early to make him go deep in the bench. And make Cat the 5 and make his life a living hell down low. Get guys like Brunson in foul trouble. I think you do those things, box out guys like Miles Bridges, OG, and Josh, and now let them have, small things impact them. Let them do their little things like steals, rebounds, hustle points, stuff like that. I think you can win this game. I think winning this game for the Spurs and winning the NBA Cup Finals will kind of go a long way for this young team to, have that confidence for themselves for the rest of the season. You beat the Thunder, you stop the streak, their winning streak they built. And that, so much so that you had teams around the league kind of, just scared to death, if the Clippers bottom out into the lottery and stuff like that, what the hell they going to do with that draft pick? But with the Spurs beating them, I think, it kind of shows that you can beat, you can beat this team, you can beat any team, let's be real. But it kind of shows like, damn, the Spurs probably got the tools to beat the Thunder. And if they get matched up on the 7-game series, they can do that. Let me see. Put this out here real quick. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to get this typed out real quick. There we go. Sometimes you gotta get things in. All right. So, anyways, like I was saying before I take our first break, I think for each of these teams that have aspirations for a deep playoff run, I think they can go a long way. for their confidence. You know, if New York loses this game, and depending on how the game goes, do they start get wandering eyes and look at Giannis and maybe say, okay, maybe pull the trigger and try and get Giannis in here, and he'll get us over the hump. If they win this game, you know, do they still even think about Giannis? I mean, yes, you always think about adding one of the best players in the world, but let me get this out here. I mean, you always think about adding one of the best players in the world, yes. But, you know, sometimes if you build all this continuity and stuff like that and trust with these guys and having, you know, Jalen Brunson take a pay cut and all that stuff, yada, 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 you know, why you want to break it up at this point now? You know what I'm saying? And then for the Spurs side of things, you know, they're also kind of in the talks in the Giannis sweepstakes. So if the Spurs have to lose this game, do you know, look around and say, okay, if we add this guy, could he take us over the hump? Can he take us over the hump against OKC in a potential 7-game series? It's kind of like I'm not putting these two teams in the same boat for, you know, the Giannis sweepstakes, but, you know, they both got assets to make a move for Giannis. Spurs got a lot of young capital. I mean, young draft picks and young guys to send along the way for a straight-up trade. Maybe a third team be involved. In New York, probably got to get a couple teams involved for a trade for Giannis. So I think if you look at this, if either team loses, do they look around and say, do we swing for the fences now for Giannis and push our chips in for a championship run? Something to think about, you know, when you're watching Tuesday's matchup between the Knicks and Spurs and how it goes. That's the main thing. If it's like a close game, I think they won't consider it, but if one of these teams get blown down, then okay, maybe it's time for a shake-up here and there. All right. So that's the end of that segment there. In closing, you know, I think it should be a great game. You know, I know it's on Amazon Prime, the finals matchup, you know, and I kind of like what they did last year. They put the game on ABC and all that. So you know, kind of missed opportunity, you know, to have a New York-based team and one of your young best players in Victor on cable television. I think it's kind of missed opportunity there. But, you know, that's my opinion. But Amazon's been doing a great job all year, so I can't take that away from them. All right. Done with that. On the other side of things, I'll go over the scores of college basketball. And Syracuse fans, I know y'all mad that Hawks beat you. I'll talk about that. Also, I'll talk about Alabama losing to Arizona and down in Birmingham. And do they have a big man problem? I discuss that much more here on Fast Break for Ice Express Radio. You're for y'all in sports. I'll catch you on the other side.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the show here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fast Break here for High Sports Radio, your Greek for sports. Talk about some breaking news here. Well, not breaking news, but Kristaps Porzingis, big man for the Atlanta Hawks, is out with that illness again that he's been kind of dealing with for the past, I won't say a couple years with the past couple years. Started with the Celtics. Now he's on the Hawks now. Shams Charania, saying that Porzingis will be missed the next 2 weeks and undergo further evaluation. Sources tell ESPN. Both sides are prioritizing the long-term. Excuse me, I get my words right. Prioritizing the long term of the season for Porzingis. This ain't worded right. Who has missed 7 of the last 8 games. Porzingis was diagnosed with the autonomic condition postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, POTS, last season in Boston. He and doctors found solutions over the summer to match his health, and he entered the Hawks season in good condition before the recent bout of illness. So, if you're Kristaps Porzingis, I hope he gets well. He's been doing this for a while, and that I think that kind of played in a way for Boston not repeating last season. I mean, Jason Tatum going out definitely just basically killed everything, but Porzingis not being like at full strength, stuff like that, kind of killed things, in my humble opinion. And I hope he gets feeling better, but I know he's in the last year of that contract too, so I hope he comes back, plays strong, and try to get another contract for himself. But man, he might start looking out for his own health. I don't know what it is. He's in Atlanta, so hopefully, he can find a good doctor that got good doctors down there, maybe can find something. Granted, yeah, he was up in Boston, around, Harvard and all that stuff as well. And I just hope the dude gets better. Hope he does. And he has to retire for his health, and he got to. But welcome back. If you see the ticker down low, follow iSports Radio on social media feeds, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. The road to 500 is very strong, so do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, and once we go live here on every Sunday, you'll get the notification as well. And also, any show on the network, we're returning our football, American football show, our volleyball show, our football/soccer show, hockey, baseball. Baseball is on a little break right now till spring training comes around. But, shows like ours, football, college and pro, hockey going strong. So any of our auto sports show is on break right now till they get things rolling back. I think NASCAR gets up on like mid-January, stuff like that, with testing, all that stuff. So those guys will be back here next month, mid next month. So do subscribe to our social media feeds right there as well. Like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to build that up as well. So I did little tease and whatnot. And let me pull this up here. Syracuse. I know y'all fans are mad right now. Y'all lose to Hofstra. And I think Hofstra is located in New York, I believe. And I know this program is kind of trying to find himself and whatnot. And I know I have not talked much about about the Syracuse Orange basketball program. I know they got Carmelo Anthony's son there, and that's receives a lot of nice pub for them. But Syracuse come off a tough inexcusable loss to Hofstra at home, 70-69. And shout out to Speedy Claxton. Didn't know he was the head coach of Hofstra, but shout out to him going back to his alma mater and coaching them up. And Hofstra's 8-4 in the season, by the way. A game multiple outlets describe as a major setback for the program. Now, I think the reason why, folks are saying it's a setback for the program, only because I think, like I said, Hofstra's in New York, and Syracuse. Syracuse men's basketball, if you look at the men's basketballs in that state, I think it's probably the premier one, and then right below them is like St. John's. But depending who you talk to, like alumni or whatnot, you probably get different answers or whatnot. So let me pull that up. But they lose 70-69, 22 points for Cruz Davis to lead the way for Hofstra. 12 points for Preston Edmond as well. For the Syracuse side of things, J.J. Starling, 15 points for him. Kanye Anthony off the bench, 12 points for him as well. And, Syracuse shot well from the line, 9 for 16 from the line, and Hofstra shot is only 6 for 6 from the line. But, it's just like, well, Syracuse, and I think I get the vibe, things I kind of pick up on them, they struggle to put complete performances. They look good in stretches, but they don't complete games. And, seeing who the coach is now for Hofstra and Speedy Claxton, if y'all know about Speedy Claxton, he was a tough, grounding out dude in the NBA who played pretty long in the NBA. Small, tough-minded, like I think like 5'11", 6 foot type of dude, but real scrappy and stuff like that. So you knew coming to this matchup that you can't really lax off with that, and that mindset is going to translate to his players. They got 6 steals on that matchup, 5 blocks in that matchup as well. Shot 66% for 3-point land, 49% from the field altogether. Syracuse out rebounding 27-26, but that's only about difference about 1 rebound. Syracuse got 9 blocks, but Hofstra got 5. But the turnover battle, both teams kept under 10, so that's great. And like I said, the guard matchup, Speedy Claxton, point guard. Philly. That's more of the time he's known for. So he's going to coach his guards up, and they did a great job, and they won the game. And I think what we're seeing around college basketball and whatnot, and we've been saying on the show for years, these mid-major programs, they get built up better than these Power 4 or Power 5 conferences. These teams go dip in the program and stuff like that as well. But you got better continuity there compared to the big ones. Because the big ones, if there's a coaching change and stuff like that, you see a whole roster turnover there. And you see it especially anywhere coaching happens. But if a coach is sticking around at a mid-major place for years to come, like Speedy, for example, at his alma mater, then you could do something there. You're in New York. You got a good base to recruit from, high school wise. You dip in the portal, get a couple guys from there and stuff like that. I don't say, make it golden, but you got a good thing going right there. So these mid-major schools and stuff like that, if you can build a solid base and stuff like that, you can win some games. We've seen it before, but you get my point in this point of era of college athletics, NIL on transfer portal, all that good stuff. You can win at a good level. And with the parity and stuff like that, everybody's so spread out, you don't have top heavy teams like you used to. So you got a Syracuse team, Jim Boeheim on the sideline, but still a power, still can recruit guys, got a reputation, but they're not top heavy like they used to be. Like you see all these schools like Kentucky, throwing big money, stuff like that, and they have been having mixed results, especially in the big time matchups. So yeah, you like throw the money all you want, all that stuff. Ain't shit gonna change unless you can build a good nucleus around your squad. And we kind of been seeing the results of that the past few years. So Hofstra winning, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I mean, yes, surprise they did, in that freaking house that they play in. But with a loss like this, with a coach for Syracuse, be on the hot seat. Let me read some comments that Syracuse fans had that I saw on. Let me read these comments I saw on Yahoo first. This guy wrote, SU has become a pathetic show of itself since Coach Boeheim retired. Pathetic. Syracuse basketball is as good as their football. How can you suck so bad at free throw line? I think they're worse in the nation. I won't say all that, but one guy said, how I miss those days of the Big East win. Me too, but dog, me too. Like the great John Thompson said, football killed the Big East. And I agree with John Thompson there. Q stinks and will never succeed when coached by Autry. That's the current coach of Syracuse. Some folks were complaining about the foul on Colin Anthony, grabbing his arm, whatnot. One guy wrote, I'm out like Q's in the first round of NIT this year. Just, more comments, pitiful, painful. So talk about the foul. So Q's fans are not happy. Syracuse got several games ahead. Before the ACC, that next matchup is against Maryhurst on December 17th, wherever the hell Maryhurst is at. So I think if you're going to use get back in and get right with things, I think this is the game you should use. But like I said, shout out to Hofstra. They did well. They came into the Carrier Dome and played very well and won that game. And, if Hofstra were to make the tournament, which they probably had to win that conference championship, but if they happen to be good enough to be an at-large team, I think this is one of the victories you can use, depending on how Syracuse season goes, to kind of like, hey, we went to Syracuse, we beat them. Hey, we got a legit claim here. So, shout out to the Hofstra there. And I got to talk about this. My Alabama Crimson Tide. They lost 96-75 to the Arizona Wildcats. Oh, stupid ass thing. I hate this setup in StreamYard. Anyways, they lost 96-75 to the Arizona Wildcats. The game is playing in Legacy Arena in Birmingham because of the graduations in Tuscaloosa, where I was at Saturday. Most of Saturday down Tuscaloosa. Arizona injured as the number one team in the country, and so exactly why. I can tell you why. Braden Burries took over. Dropped 28 points, including 20 in a 14-minute second half burst, in which he looked very, very good. I can't take that away from that young man. He looked very good in that game, especially in the second half. And Alabama really had no answer for it. 5 and 10 from 3, completely flipped the momentum after halftime. Alabama led at halftime 41-39. And then, Arizona responded back 14-1 run to open the second half and never looked back. Nate Oates. Put this up here. Nate Oates admitted post-game that coaching decisions include limiting limits for Jaleel Berthea and Davion Hannah were mistakes. I will say this. And I think this has kind of been a theme for Nate Oates since he's been the Alabama head coach. Your guard play is fine. Your 3-guard play is fine. Wherever you have a guard, it's fine. From point guard, shooting guard, 2-guard, even small forward, been fine. But the trouble with him, and he never has found the right guy yet or whatever down low, but the big man problem is a big issue. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he like some gun ho to run his system and the big man got to adjust to it, because before the season he got guys like Noah Williamson in from Bucknell, and look at his tape and I was like, okay, big guy can score 6'11" and whatnot, and now if you plug him into the system, he's unplayable in Nate Oates' system. So much so that people are calling this guy a bum and stuff like that. But I think this guy's not good for the system. If y'all go look back at Noah Wilson's way he played in Bucknell and what they're trying to do in Alabama, it's not a good fit. And on paper, it probably looked good for both parties involved, but it's not a good fit now. And if I know Wilson, I'm trying to next year, if I got any eligibility left, to go somewhere that can help. I can use me down low. Like a Wisconsin, Michigan State, somewhere like that. Because what Alabama's trying to do is not with big man is not working. Taylor Bowen didn't rebound with the crap. That's another guy that Florida State fans were saying that at times he'll look very good, but other times, don't be surprised if he's out there getting cardio. And that's what exactly what Taylor Bourbon did in that matchup. Yeah, he had 4 blocks, but I think the effort could have been better there. And then, just kind of looking, they went deep in the bench. Bistro, who came in, looked very good against Illinois, didn't really have an impact. And I think if you need to keep somebody honest to unload, I think you got to keep him there. Aiden Sherrill, he had 8 blocks, 7 points, but it's still kind of wait for him to break out his shell. And I kind of started to wonder if the Alabama system is good for him too. And then Aiden Holloway, he didn't just show up at all. Like 0 points, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, like dick all nothing. And then, look at Arizona. Like I said, Barry's had a strong second half. Got to work on the foul situation. Cole Pete, 6 points. Probably should have dominated more better down low, given that Alabama really had no down low threat. But I think that's something that the young guys should, got to work on. Taking advantage of mismatches down low. If Arizona's going to be in the Final Four, then Cole Pete got recognized. Okay, Alabama play up and down, but they got nobody down low, so I should be at least getting double off this matchup at least. And it didn't happen. But Corvallis, he has 14 points, 14 rebounds. In the matchup against Alabama, 13 points off the bench for Delar Orso as well. Jaden Bradley, the former Alabama recruit player, he had 13 points and 7 assists as well. So a big time win for Arizona and Birmingham. I wonder, as an Alabama fan, how many more games you're going to do this in Birmingham and get beat down like this? Just saying. So big time win for Arizona. And I got to give them the shouts out and stuff like that. They played well. They played strong. And they showing why they're one of the better teams in the country, along with, teams like Michigan, Gonzaga, and BYU's playing very strong ball here lately. But you kind of look at the AP Top 25, Arizona, Michigan, Duke, Iowa State, Connecticut, Purdue, Houston, Gonzaga, Michigan State, and BYU and Louisville. I think they really start putting themselves in the class about itself. That Big 12, is looking very strong between Iowa State, Houston, and BYU. The Big 10 looking very strong with Michigan, Michigan State, and Purdue. Forgot about Arizona Big 12. So 4 teams, After that, schools like, Illinois, Alabama, Texas Tech, Arkansas, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, and stuff like that. Nebraska, who's on a nice winning streak right now, they're undefeated as well. So it's going to be very interesting when conference play starts, all these schools. And once, conference play starts and, you start seeing, who's there and whatnot. But I think one stark difference between the men's and the women, and you'll see some big time matchups in the women's, but it's very few and far between. But for the men's, you see these gauntlets that some of these teams go through. We saw in the Players Era tournament, Maui and stuff like that. even these matchups right here, Alabama and Arizona, great matchup, and kind of showed Alabama's flaws and whatnot, especially in defensively and offensively. So, shout out to Arizona. They won that game. Salute to them. And they probably keep that number one position in the poll. Even though I still think Michigan deserve it and Duke right behind them, but Arizona is one of the better teams out in the country. So I really can't hate them being number one. But, kids like this, Brandon Berry's playing very well. You really can't take that away from them. And let me pull it back up. And another kid, a diaper dandy. One of these diaper dandies that we talking about all year really showed his stuff against one of the top programs in the nation. So salute to the Arizona Wildcats on the big-time win in Birmingham. Before I get out here, just go with some quick scores around the league real quick in the association. Well, I'll stay in college here. Iowa State, they win today, 78-53 over Eastern Illinois. So another win to keep them undefeated. 18 points for Milan Malavalik. So 18 points for him, and that win against Eastern Illinois there. Going back to yesterday and talk about matchups and stuff like that, Gonzaga wins 82-72 against UCLA. Big time win for the Zags there. BYU, like I mentioned before, winning 153 against UCR. AJ Demesta, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists for him, 5 steals in that matchup as well. A guy that, speaking as an Alabama fan, will probably help balance this team if they were able to stack them. I know it came down to money, but I think this kid would kind of help out Alabama down low and help for the scoring there. And that balance between him and Fallon will gone a long way, for Crimson Tide. But he's been playing very well for BYU. And, boy, him, Boozer, and Paxton kid, they really challenging for that number one spot. And we're trying to do a mock draft here sometime soon to kind of see where my head, give y'all see where my head is at with these kids right now. Because this is like be one of the better drafts we won't have in a while. Like, we got a lot of potential guys from the top one pick, and the Mensa's right up there. Michigan, they beat Maryland 101-83. So another double-digit win for the Wolverines and Dusty May in that team. And probably the best positive thing going on for Michigan, also along there, for them right now, because the football program is like in a hot mess. And I know the Shamar Moore stuff is a hot topic right now, but he just one of the issues going on with the Michigan football team. Let's be real about that. Harbaugh got a clean break to go away to the NFL, which he should have been punished more. But you got the Connor Stanley and stuff, all this stuff. The one coach getting arrested by the FBI and stuff like that. So, yeah, Sharon, not a good look with the staffer and stuff like that. But Michigan football got very deep-seated problems. And I don't know who the hell they look to get to replace Sharon Moore. I know it's been talked about Kalen DeBoer and stuff like that. That's a lot of money you got to give up to get him to go to Michigan. I don't see that happening. But we'll see. But big time win for Michigan right there against Maryland there. But shout out to David Coit, 31 points for him in that loss for Maryland. Betterville, 83-72 over Central Arkansas in that matchup. Kansas in overtime against NC State. 77-76. Melvin Calson Jr., 36 points for him in that win against NC State. In that match against NC State. Peterson, excuse me, I keep on calling Patterson, but Peterson, 17 points for him. And I think he did get hurt in that matchup as well. So there's been talk about sitting him down for the rest of the year and potentially saving his draft stock and whatnot. And for me, I think that would be a big mistake because I think you got too many other guys jockeying for that spot. So, if I was them, I'll keep on playing. So, play well. I just think, he just if you can play. Because Kansas, I'm not saying they're winning championship this year or not, but it's a good chance they could if he plays. And if he doesn't, I think you can just, take them out of the possibility. So, and then I pulled something from Bill Self said, move from the NC State after discovered per Bill Self. So, you keep it period. I mean, I know you're trying to protect Pearson for his own self, so we'll see. But big time win for Kansas. That kind of team that kind of needed to win like that on the road. Auburn beats Chattanooga 92-78. Nebraska, a surprise team right now in the country that nobody's talking about, 83-80 over Illinois in that matchup there. Louisville, watched this game a little bit while I was at Baumhauer's, 99-73 over Memphis. And once they got the lead on Memphis, there's no comeback. And Memphis don't got the guys to come back like that. So I mean, bad loss. Memphis is 4-5 in the season. Hopefully Penny can turn things around come conference play. Houston beats New Orleans 99-57. For some of y'all don't know, Master P, he's kind of like the general manager for New Orleans University basketball team and whatnot. And his son, Mercy Miller, plays for Houston. He got 15 points in that matchup, against his dad squad. So, shout out to Mercy Miller for doing his thing and getting, some nice minutes off the bench for Houston. Because playing Kevin Thompson's rotations is very hard to do. And Miller is showing that he can produce as well. Florida wins 80-70 against George Washington. And watching this matchup, let me pull this up. Let's see. I did watch this matchup here. George Washington played them pretty tough. As part of the Orange Bowl basketball class in Sunrise, Florida, Xavier Lee, dropped 24 points. Pull this up here. Excuse me just a second. Second half surge from Florida led to 30-27 at halftime, then exploded for 50 second half points, shooting 66-27 for after the break. transition offense was the difference, 12 points off turnovers. So they played, like I said, George Washington played him tough, but in the second half, Florida just kind of took over. And, George Washington really didn't have an answer, after the turnovers and stuff like that. But, they didn't let the game get out of hand. They came back, played strong, George Washington. And, it's just, with these big-time schools, once you get a little run in them, and stuff like that, and kind of turn the Jets like that, that's all she wrote for these smaller schools at times. But George Washington, like I said, they played tough, stuff like that. And the game's a lot closer than with the final score suggests. But nice win for Florida. If you're George Washington, nothing to hang your hat on, so I think you can take this game, build off of it, But I think you can really learn some things if you're George Washington to kind of move forward the rest of the season. And a team that should be talking about as a tournament team, if not at least an NIT team. Michigan State 76-72 over Penn State in a conference matchup. Nice win for the Spartans there. Purdue 79-59 over Marquette in that matchup as well. Big time win for Arkansas, 93-86 over Texas Tech in that matchup. 24 points for Brazil. 20 points for Knox. 20 points for Acuff. Jacob Toppin, 30 points, 11 rebounds for him in that matchup against the Hogs. So big time win for Arkansas and a team that, we'll just see come tournament time. We'll just say that by Arkansas. Then finally, before I get out of here, St. John's 91-64 over Iona. Ray Pitino catching against one of his former old squad. Them there at home. And kind of going back to Arkansas, the reason I said it like that, Kyle Perry's reputation and big time players choking and not meeting expectations and stuff like that. So I'm kind of reserving judgment until we get to March. And I'm not saying it's a big time win. It's a great win. But East Tuckalutty State in the first round, that we determine where you're gonna vote. You know what I'm saying? That's all I gotta say right here. Women's real quick. South Carolina beat Penn State 95-55. Kentucky women's beat Belmont 77-69. Texas all over Baylor 89-54. Seton Hall with the upset victory over Auburn 69-63. Auburn got a new coach and losing to a Big East school right there. Not a good look for him. Mississippi State. Mississippi State over 7 minutes, 87-64 in that matchup. Louisville over North Carolina, 76-66 in that matchup as well. And then Nebraska over Illinois State, 85-44 in that matchup as well. But thank you for tuning to our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, do follow Ice Sports Radio on all your social media feeds, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We do a lot of shorts and stuff like that, so you happen to see the show and the recap. You see a lot of shorts on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube shorts. Like, give a comment there as well. If you catch playback on the show, do give a like and follow as well, and give a comment as well. You can follow D-Locke at Black-813, that's Black-813. Do follow me at Spawn4288, and also follow the show's page on Twitter / X at FastBreak.ISR. That's FastBreak.IESR as well. Well, I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna get some dinner. I'm going to watch the rest of this Laker game. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, come next week, we'll talk about the NBA Cup Finals. The league kind of get back to resuming things. And also scores around the world of basketball. Until then, have a great night. Stay warm. If you're especially on the East Coast and stuff like that in the South, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.